a broken system. Can't help but tune in. We've had a couple of beauties. We've had John, the one and only John Setka, arrested for none other than using a device to menace, harass, not stalk, not unlike what this government did. This government, again, here, let me show you. This government, and it's through its court orders that I was made to stay on, and with where they sex trafficked, literally sex trafficked women to get at me. Aside the fact that they were calling me dog and whatnot, all because I was interviewed, for those who don't know, in relation to a criminal matter a GEO employed prison officer got himself into. Now this is relevant, you'll see where I'm going. This GEO employed prison officer got himself into criminal matter when my life turned left and I ended up in prison, and I got interviewed by Victoria Police in a criminal matter, and that turned me like dog. But more importantly, and this is where we'll join this one, more importantly what they did, they used weaponized misuse. They used artificial intelligence chatbot technology combined with the CCTV, and in prison you're trapped in a cell completely illegally, completely disgustingly, like just inhumane. All manner of international laws are being broken. They were using the combination of the connected TV, if they could, depending on the prison, and or the intercom system to use chatbot technology to just natter constant through, or worse, or genuine installed hidden cameras and piping it through there. You would have to ask them that. Now this is where I go, because recently they put John Setka on hold for a minute, and the using a connected device to stalk, menace and harass. John Setka didn't get the trifecta, who were bullied, who were conned and manipulated into partaking in the harassment game and partaking in the WhatsApp groups to stalk and harass this guy, this dog, this whistleblower. So one of the so in that we have the Marrogi example. Now Marrogi's been, after the 2000 completely avoidable prison riot of the MRC, where, don't forget, those riots started in an induction unit of a remand prison. Now that goes entirely against the calculating, manipulating. That just spells mismanagement and incompetence, and just, to be honest, not listening to the bravest of the brave frontline prison officers, who you treat as a combination of fodder and as though they're living inside North Korea and they can't communicate any of the failings of the Victorian prison system, just so that it never gets out, you know, so they can control it, because they pretend it's in their commissioner's requirements. It's actually in black and white not to talk about the goings on of the prison outside of the prison. They can adhere to those commissioners' requirements, but they don't adhere to the one that says not to use either physical or mental torture as behavioural incentive or punishment. So anyway, here my point is, when those 2015 riots came along, completely avoidable, literally the frontline officers just went, look at this, I don't get paid enough for this. We warned them, and they did. It actually made the equally corrupted mainstream media on a number of occasions where the frontline officers were complaining or stating, we're not ready, we are not ready, we haven't got anything in place, we got nothing in place, we're not ready to introduce this smoking ban. So when there was a little bit of unrest from literally the induction unit, they've been in that prison for a handful of weeks maximum, on the most part. There may be 10% who weren't, but for the most part they've been in that induction unit for a handful of weeks. So when it got a little bit of, the prison officers just went, Barleys, we warned them, see ya, and then that led to the riot. That's how the MRC riot started, for those who don't know. So when that happened, the payback from the system, aside the fact that we then started hearing of rumours. Now don't forget, rumours don't come about they don't just pluck them, put it that way. So we then started hearing rumours, the lower ranked officers who were still disgruntled because they're still getting, they're still knowing they're listening to outright garbage in the media, put it that way. And they're still getting treated like fodder and not listened to. Well, we started hearing rumours from them because in the prison, again, when my life, I'm not proud of that stage in my life, it is what it is. I was on heroin, I was homeless, and I made some poor choices. However, the positive from that is a massive positive because it allowed me to do this. It allowed me to see the level of mess we are really in and try to do something constructive about it. I mean, no ill will to anybody, any government employee, any police officer, any prison officer. But I do know that the law and order system in Victoria, the entire, at a government level for that matter, is just a corrupted, farcical mess. It is a mess, and it really is. Anyhow, I won't deviate. So here we have this prison system, this riot, and then we start hearing rumours. When you're in prison, you work alongside the prison officers. Hey, how are you, boss? Yeah, no worries. You know, what are we doing today? Oh, planting some tomatoes, are we? Whatever. So you start hearing the goss. And it's not just, believe me, the prison officers have far, well, you think they say when you go to jail, stay out of the politics, they mean with the inmates? Nah, mate, they mean stay out of the prison officers' politics. Oh, Nelly, they've got politics amongst the prison officers that go back 20 and 30 years over who slept with whose wife when they were up and coming through the academy, mate. Trust me, it goes deep. But anyhow, I won't deviate, let's go. So we then start hearing reports of the lower ranked officers who are still getting treated like, they just know that they're reading lies. What does that do for a staff member? It makes them think yuck of their boss. So you start hearing rumours of how the lower ranked prison officers complaining of those in the right position literally plundering the money used. Like basically there was no questions asked. They've just lost a prison. There's no questions asked, just repair it. So those in the right position were just doing the plunder jobs that has now been seen very publicly through the CFMEU fiasco, the infrastructure fiascos and things like that, missing $15 billion. So those type of rumours started circulating. Well, during that time, with that anger and that resentment of just having lost to jail, even if it was due to their own incompetence, they started making decisions. Clearly, one of them was clearly to install enough technology that they can use torturously, completely illegally and entirely inhumanely, they can use AI chatbot technology to pipe through their cameras, through their CCTV, and they can, in effect, mentally torture people by replicating the effects of paranoid schizophrenia to try and make people paranoid, angry, trip them up, get them in fights, I mean, after those riots, we would, if you knew, you knew. We would listen to inmates. Now you know the effects of what can be done with artificial intelligence chatbot technology. We would literally be watching MRC prison officers, the security having a little smirk to each other, where the fights in the cell between inmates were something along the line, you said this, I can hear you, you're messing with me, what did you say? They didn't say anything. It was the prison officers mucking about with them through the misuse of their newfound gadget, the artificial intelligent chatbot with voice synthesizer technology. For a scumbag person, I guess you could argue that it's a little bit more fun than playing Sudoku during your night shift. So we started seeing fights like that. We started hearing seasoned inmates who knew exactly what they were doing. They knew their way around the prison, yelling out to people, hey, such and such, such and such. Hey, such and such isn't there. But, oh, hang on. If you know about the artificial intelligence chatbot technology mixed with the voice synthesizer technology, it's those type of things start to make perfect sense. So it wasn't just which is exactly where I'm going. So here they've passed these laws retrospectively to protect themselves from the no sunlight and the inability to adhere to their own commissioner's requirements, to the inability to adhere to the bare minimum standards of how to run it. That was set out to protect the world, literally, from Adolf Hitler, Pol Pot, and Emperor Hirohito when he was in one of his more torturous moods. It was set out to protect people, and that includes prisoners of war. It was set out to protect inmates from that era. And here we are in Victoria, not even being able, provenly, not even being able to adhere to it, but then passing the laws retrospectively. And this is my point. This is where I'm going. So this is how we don't grow. This is how we have such a farcical mess. They did the same thing with Victoria Police during the Lawyer X fiasco. They spent bucket loads of money protecting themselves from the corruption, right? So they spent all this money. Well, hello, that's not how you grow now, is it? Shouldn't you have spent the bucket loads of money on finding the people who made these decisions? Because believe me, they weren't making those decisions. They knew exactly what they were doing. They can pretend this and that. They knew exactly that those decisions were made through anger and through resentment and bitterness because they had just lost their prison. So what other laws aren't they adhering? I can assure you one of them is the misuse of artificial intelligence chatbot technology. This is my point. You don't grow from that. That is how you've got such a mess of a law and order system, because they continually spend the money on protecting themselves, pretending that, oh, we couldn't have known, or, you know, this was in the line of work. It wasn't because we're scumbag human beings or anything like that. This was, you know, gee. And then what happens? You end up with just the worst crime stats ever, and nobody ever gets held to account, and the people responsible right off into the sunset. How is that a benefit to your children? It's not. You can sit there on 3AW or, you know, Channel 9 and you can cover it all up. Granted, here, where they manipulated the media, they all worked together to cover up being caught out using the AI chatbot technology. So they made a fake news story to cover themselves. You could do all that, right? Great, no worries. Don't complain when your mate just got robbed at machete point for her Porsche. Don't complain because tragically a beautiful Viet Tran Chuen, forgive me for getting that name incorrect, which I know I did, Viet Tran Chuen loses his life because of this type of story. That's what it is. Because you don't grow, you just cover up your mess. And this is my point. It is sickening. Like, it has to stop. People, great, they do a hard job, I get it. I'm all for police. I'm certainly all for brave frontline police officers, prison officers. I've seen what they have to deal with. I'm all for the police officers, 100%. But I'm not all for high-level cover-ups and media manipulation. For what? And then when people, innocent people, are dying as a direct result of it, that is exactly what we're dealing with. Press like, press subscribe, and share it around, please, because we need massive changes, not just in Victoria, in Australia. Speak soon, guys. Thanks for listening to A Very Broken System.